The gleaming Los Angeles studio hummed with nervous energy. Jennifer Aniston stood before her dressing room mirror, adjusting her cream blazer with trembling hands. This was her moment, her first hosting gig, designed to create real conversations beyond tabloid fodder. "Breathe, Jen." Sophia Reyes appeared, tablet clutched to her chest. "This is your show, your rules." "I want this to be different, real. No more softball questions about my dating life." Jennifer gestured toward the intimate set, two plush armchairs positioned for conversation, not confrontation. About tonight's guest, Meghan arrived with full security, 3 assistants, and a very specific list of topics she won't discuss. She's not coming here to be vulnerable. She's coming to control the narrative. Jennifer frowned. Maybe she just needs to feel safe first. Or maybe she sees your empathy as weakness. When Jennifer finally met Meghan on set, the contrast was stark. Where Jennifer radiated warmth, Meghan positioned herself like a chess piece, deliberate, calculated, commanding. Her emerald dress and practiced smile suggested someone ready for battle, not conversation. "Jennifer, thank you for having me." Meghan's voice was honey over steel. "I'm so glad you're here. I hope tonight feels like a safe space." Meghan's eyebrow arched imperceptibly. Safe space. How thoughtful. As they took their seats, Jennifer caught Sophia's warning look from the production booth. The audience applauded, but they were watching Meghan more intently than the host. This was supposed to be Jennifer's show, but somehow Meghan had already claimed center stage. "Good evening and welcome to Conversations. Tonight we're joined by actress, humanitarian, and former royal family member Meghan Markle." "How noble," Meghan replied, the words pleasant but the tone sharp enough to make Jennifer's stomach tighten. The temperature had already begun to drop. 12 minutes in, Jennifer was losing control of her own show. Every question met the redirect, deflection, or subtle challenge to her authority. "Tell us about your childhood in Los Angeles." Jennifer leaned forward with genuine curiosity. Meghan's laugh was crystalline and cold. "I grew up understanding that palaces are just prettier prisons, Jennifer. The real question is whether you're willing to pick the lock." The audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the vulnerable conversation they had expected. Jennifer attempted humor. "Well, the tabloids made it sound like you were plotting world domination from the Suits set." Meghan's expression hardened. "The tabloids are written by people who've never had an original thought. They specialize in turning women's ambitions into pathology. But I suppose some people are more comfortable with that narrative than others." The words cut deep. Had that been directed at her? "Some women get the America's sweetheart treatment while others get the ambitious schemer headlines. I wonder what makes the difference." Jennifer's smile faltered. "I think we all get portrayed in ways that don't reflect our full humanity." "How generous of you, using your platform to help others find their voice, though I suppose some of us didn't wait for permission." Through her earpiece, Sophia's voice was urgent. "Shift topics now." "Your charity work has always been impressive. What drives that commitment?" "Reality," she said simply. "While some people were reading about injustice in scripts, others of us were living it. It's amazing how different your perspective becomes when you can't retreat to a comfortable bubble when the cameras stop rolling." The implication was clear. Jennifer's struggles were less real, less valid. The audience sensed it, staring at Jennifer, waiting for her response. "I think we all have different paths to understanding," Jennifer said tightly. "Portraying it," Meghan emphasized, looking directly into the camera, "though I've found that when you're actually living something rather than performing it, people tend to be less comfortable with your truth." Jennifer's heart raced. This wasn't just an off-script interview. It was becoming a public dismantling of everything she had built. Jennifer set down her note cards with deliberate precision. The scripted portion was over. Whatever happened next would be real, unfiltered, and dangerous.
"Meghan, I think we should be direct with each other." Meghan's posture shifted like a cat sensing threat. "I thought we were being direct. Were we? Because it feels like we're having two different conversations. I'm trying to connect with you, and you seem to be scoring points. That's interesting, coming from someone who's made a career out of being unthreatening. Unthreatening. Is that what you think I am? I think you've been very careful to never challenge anyone too directly. Very careful to always be likable. Very careful to never make anyone uncomfortable. And you think that's a weakness? I think it's a choice, one that some of us don't get to make. Because you chose to leave the royal family? The question hung like smoke. Meghan's eyes flashed. Because I chose to protect my family from an institution that was destroying us? Because I chose truth over comfort? Because some of us don't get to smile prettily and hope the problem goes away? That's not fair, Jennifer said quietly. Fair would be if every woman who spoke her truth got the same reception. Fair would be if every woman who chose herself over others' expectations was celebrated instead of vilified. And you think I haven't been vilified? Jennifer hadn't meant to make it personal, but Meghan's attack had found its mark. Have you ever been called manipulative for setting boundaries? Accused of using your pain for attention? Told your trauma was a publicity stunt? Jennifer was quiet, then spoke softly but dangerously. Yes, actually, I have. Meghan blinked, not expecting that response. When I went through my divorce, I was accused of being bitter when I didn't smile enough, fake when I smiled too much. The difference is, I learned I couldn't control how people interpreted my choices, only whether I made them authentically. And what does that look like exactly? Never pushing back? Never demanding better? It looks like not turning every conversation into a chess match. It looks like giving people the benefit of the doubt instead of treating them like enemies. The battle lines were drawn. The studio lights burned hotter, casting harsh shadows. What began as an interview had transformed into psychological warfare. Jennifer straightened, her media smile replaced by something more threatening. You're right, Meghan. Our struggles have been different, but that doesn't make yours more valid than mine. Did I say they were invalid? I don't recall using that word. You didn't have to. Every response tonight has been designed to diminish my experience while elevating yours. That's not conversation, that's competition. And what's wrong with a little competition? Isn't that what this industry is built on? The pretty blonde gets the romantic comedy, the complicated brunette gets the think pieces. Marcus Leclerc shifted uncomfortably in the audience, muttering, "This is not going to end well." You think I don't understand being typecast? You think I haven't spent 30 years fighting to be taken seriously? To be seen as more than Rachel Green? At least Rachel Green was beloved. When I played Rachel Zane, they spent 7 seasons waiting for me to know my place. Jennifer's expression softened momentarily. That must have been difficult. Don't. Meghan's voice was ice cold. Don't you dare pity me. Then why are you here? To tell the truth, something you might not be familiar with given how carefully you've curated your image. The words hit like surgical strikes. Meghan's composure cracked, jaw tightening before she regained control. Curated my image, or protected my sanity. Is there a difference? Tell me, when was the last time you said something that might actually offend someone? When did you last take a real risk with your reputation? I'm taking one right now. Meghan laughed, crystal breaking. Are you? Because it looks like you're still trying to be likable even when someone is actively challenging you. Maybe I learned that you can speak truth without drawing blood. Maybe strength doesn't require cruelty. Cruelty, that's what you call honesty. I call it deflection. Every time I've tried to connect, you've turned it into an attack. That's not honesty, that's armor. The observation landed like a physical blow. Meghan's composure slipped, revealing something raw underneath before hardening into something more dangerous. Through her earpiece, Sophia's voice was urgent. Decide right now, are you ending this or fighting back? The battle was fully engaged. The admission hung like a confession. For the first time, Meghan seemed genuinely caught off guard by Jennifer's quiet pain. But the vulnerability lasted seconds before Jennifer's training reasserted itself. However, I learned early that healing happens in private, not in public, that the world doesn't owe me understanding of my pain. It was the wrong thing to say. Meghan's eyes flashed with renewed fury. How convenient, how absolutely convenient that you get to decide when your pain matters and when it should stay hidden. Luxury. You think choosing silence is a luxury? When speaking costs you nothing, but staying quiet protects everything, yes. When you can choose your battles instead of having them chosen for you, absolutely. Jennifer leaned forward, voice dropping dangerously. You assume I've never had battles forced on me. You assume my life has been easier because I've kept the ugliest parts private. Hasn't it been? Let me ask you something. When you left the royal family, when you did those interviews, did bleeding in public actually heal anything? Or did it just make you feel less alone in your pain? Meghan received it like an attack. Did speaking my truth help? It helped millions of women who saw themselves in my story. It helped dismantle a system that was killing me. But did it help you? Jennifer pressed gently, more threatening than cruelty. Meghan was quiet, vulnerability flickering before hardening. You don't get to psychoanalyze me, Jennifer. You don't get to pretend this is therapy. I'm not trying to. Yes, you are. You're trying to make me the damaged one who can't handle her pain appropriately, who makes a mess instead of cleaning it up quietly like a good girl should. That's not what I meant, isn't it? That I should have suffered in silence like you did, protected an institution that was destroying me, prioritized others' comfort over my own survival? I meant that sometimes the cost of being right is higher than the cost of being quiet. And sometimes the cost of being quiet is your soul. The words hit Jennifer like a blow. She hadn't expected such direct challenge to her entire philosophy. You think I've sold my soul by maintaining privacy? I think you've convinced yourself that avoidance is wisdom, that you've confused being liked with being respected. And I think you've confused being controversial with being courageous, that burning bridges is the same as blazing trails. At least I blaze something. What have you blazed besides a path to maximum likability? The attack was so personal that audience members gasped. Jennifer was silent, then spoke with soft lethality. I've blazed a path for women who want to be successful without being hated for it. The confrontation had reached its breaking point. The accusation landed like a grenade. Jennifer sat perfectly still, cycling through emotions, shock, hurt, recognition, and finally something dangerously close to rage. My silence has been destructive? Devastatingly so. When women like you, beloved, successful, untouchable, stay quiet about injustice, you give everyone else permission to look away. Jennifer's hands clenched, knuckles white. You don't know anything about my choices, what I've sacrificed, or who I've protected, or what battles I've fought behind closed doors. Behind closed doors, always where it's safe, always where it costs you nothing. It's cost me everything. The words tore out before Jennifer could stop them, her composure finally shattering. You think staying quiet is easy? You think watching injustice and choosing battles carefully doesn't eat you alive? For the first time, Meghan looked genuinely surprised. She'd been poking at armor, only to discover an open wound. Then why don't you? Meghan asked, almost curious. Jennifer was quiet, breathing visibly. When she spoke, her voice was raw with exhaustion. Because I learned the world doesn't want complicated women. It wants saints or sinners, angels or demons, perfect victims or perfect villains. And I've seen what happens to women who refuse those roles. You've seen what happens to me, Meghan said quietly. I've seen what happens to all of us.
I've watched brilliant women destroyed for having opinions, talented women blacklisted for being difficult, strong women torn apart by a machine that profits from their pain. So you decided to feed the machine instead? Jennifer's laugh was bitter and broken. I decided to survive it. The honesty seemed to deflate some of Meghan's anger. Both women sat in the wreckage of their personas, exposed and exhausted. But surviving isn't living. And living isn't always surviving. You've been brave, Meghan, incredibly brave. But bravery without strategy is just martyrdom. And martyrs don't get to raise their children. The reference to children hit deep. Meghan's expression flickered before hardening. Don't you dare use my children as ammunition. I'm trying to understand why you're so angry at women like me instead of the system that makes us choose between authenticity and survival. Because women like you have the power to change that system, but instead of using it, you hide behind it. And you think destroying each other in public is going to change anything? I think this is the first real conversation you've had in years, maybe decades. Jennifer stared at her, then spoke quietly but clearly. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is the first real conversation I've had in years, and it's terrifying. But for the first time in forever, I feel actually present, real. Meghan blinked, not expecting this response. But real doesn't require cruelty. Authentic doesn't mean destructive. We can have truth without war. Can we really? Because every woman who's tried to have truth without war has been dismissed, discredited, or destroyed. Jennifer stood up slowly. Then maybe it's time to change what truth looks like. The movement sent tension through the studio. Meghan remained seated, looking up with confusion and wariness. What are you doing? Jennifer looked at the audience, the cameras, then back at Meghan. I'm deciding who I want to be, right here, right now. The moment was irreversible. Jennifer remained standing, her decision crystallizing. But Meghan wasn't finished. If anything, Jennifer's attempt to reclaim control had triggered something desperate and dangerous. Oh, how convenient, Meghan said, voice dripping disdain. The moment things get uncomfortable for America's sweetheart, she decides to take her toys and go home. Jennifer's jaw tightened. This conversation stopped being productive. Productive? You mean it stopped being safe? It stopped being the sanitized moment you planned. God forbid Jennifer Aniston actually has to engage with something messy. The studio fell deadly quiet. Meghan, I think we should...
Should what? Pretend this didn't happen? Edit it down to sound bites? Turn it into another glossy story about how two powerful women can agree to disagree? Sophia frantically signaled from the booth, but no one knew what to do. I think we should remember that people came here for something different than this. This is the most honest thing that's happened on television in years. This is what real looks like when two women stop pretending to like each other for the cameras. We don't have to destroy each other either. Meghan laughed like glass shattering. Destroy each other? You think finally telling the truth about your cowardice is destruction? The word hit Jennifer like a physical blow, her composure cracking visibly. My cowardice. Yes, your decades of playing it safe while other women paid the price for your silence. Your careful career built on being unthreatening to a system that chews up women like me. Jennifer was quiet, then spoke with dangerous softness. You want to talk about cowardice? Let's talk about someone so threatened by another woman's success that she has to tear it down. Someone who mistakes cruelty for honesty, who confuses burning bridges with building a legacy. How dare you? How dare I defend myself? How dare I refuse to be your punching bag? How dare I suggest that maybe you're not the only woman who's ever suffered in this industry? Marcus Leclerc had his head in his hands, murmuring, "This is a disaster." You know what your problem is, Jennifer? Meghan was vicious now. You've been playing victim so long, you actually believe you are one. Poor Jennifer Aniston, so bravely enduring the terrible burden of being beloved by millions. Jennifer's face went white. Stop. Stop what? Stop pointing out that your entire career has been built on being safe? Stop mentioning that you've never taken a real risk, never stood up for anything that mattered. Stop, Jennifer repeated, voice shaking. You want to know what real courage looks like? Real courage is walking away from a billion-dollar institution when it's killing you. Real courage is building something instead of burning it down. Real courage is knowing when to stop. They stood inches apart, both trembling with emotion. The studio was silent except for camera hums. You think you're so evolved, but you're just afraid. You've always been afraid. Jennifer stared at her, then spoke quietly. You're right. I have been afraid. I've been afraid of becoming someone who uses pain as a weapon instead of wisdom, someone who tears other women down instead of lifting them up. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. The silence stretched like a chasm. Jennifer could feel every eye on her, since the cameras capturing each micro-expression of the decision forming in her mind. She looked at the audience, Marcus shaking his head, influencers with phones mysteriously still, Caleb whose concern seemed to understand what she was really grappling with. This wasn't about ending an interview anymore. This was about defining who she was going to be for the rest of her life. You know what, Meghan? Jennifer's voice carried a new quality. Not anger, not hurt, but certainty. You spent this entire evening trying to provoke me into being someone I'm not. Someone angry, someone cruel, someone who fights dirty because that's the only way you know how to fight. I'm not trying to, Meghan began. Yes, you are. And I understand why. Because if you can drag me down to where you are, if you can make me as bitter and defensive as you feel, then you can justify every bridge you've burned, every relationship you've destroyed. Meghan's face cycled through emotions: shock, recognition, fury. But here's what you don't understand. I don't have to become you to validate your choices. I don't have to be cruel to be authentic. And I don't have to continue this conversation just because you're not finished with it. Jennifer turned to address the cameras directly, finding her true voice. Ladies and gentlemen, this conversation has moved beyond productive dialogue. While I respect Miss Markle's right to her feelings, I won't allow this platform to become a venue for personal attacks. The words created their own space in the chaos. When I created this show, I wanted a safe space for authentic conversation. But authentic doesn't mean abusive. Real doesn't mean cruel. And honest doesn't require hurting other people. You can't just dismiss me. I'm not dismissing you. I'm protecting both of us from saying things we can't take back. I'm choosing to end this before we destroy each other for everyone's entertainment. You're running away. No, I'm walking away. There's a difference. She looked at the audience, then back at Meghan. I hope you find the peace you're looking for, but you're not going to find it by attacking other women who've made different choices. Sophia signaled the crew. Cameras moved, lights shifted. The machinery of shutdown began. This doesn't make you look strong, Jennifer. This makes you look exactly like what I said. Someone who runs when things get difficult. Jennifer paused at the set's edge, turning back one final time. If walking away from toxicity makes me weak in your eyes, then I'm comfortable being weak. The words hit Meghan like a slap. She stood alone now, lights dimming, audience murmuring. For the first time all evening, she looked uncertain, vulnerable, lost. That's it? That's how this ends? Jennifer didn't turn around. This is how it ends, with one of us choosing to be better than the fight. And she was gone, leaving Meghan alone under fading lights as reality sunk in. The backstage corridor felt like another world, quiet, dim, removed from chaos. Jennifer's heels clicked steadily, each step taking her further from confrontation and closer to whatever came next.
Jen? Sophia appeared at her elbow, breathless. Jesus Christ, Jen, what just happened? Jennifer didn't slow her pace. I remembered who I am. You just ended your premiere episode mid-interview. You walked away from one of the most anticipated conversations of the year. Good. Jennifer's voice was steady, but Sophia saw the tremor in her hands, the uneven breathing,
Adrenaline still coursed through her system. They reached Jennifer's dressing room. She leaned against the closed door before opening it, the space feeling smaller, as if she'd grown beyond its confines. "In 20 years of producing, I've never seen anything like that," Sophia said, settling into a chair while Jennifer methodically removed her jewelry. "Like what?" "Like someone choosing to end a train wreck instead of riding it for ratings. Like someone actually meaning it when they talk about authenticity." Jennifer paused, meeting Sophia's eyes in the mirror. "Did I do the right thing?" It was the first crack in her composure, the first hint of uncertainty. "I don't know," Sophia said honestly. "But I know it was the Jennifer thing to do, the real Jennifer thing, not the media-trained version." A soft knock interrupted them. Caleb's voice came through gently. "Miss Aniston, I just wanted to say something, if that's okay." Jennifer opened the door to find the comedian, his usual confidence replaced by seriousness. "I've been writing about human nature for years, trying to capture what's real versus performed. What you did in there, that was the realest thing I've ever seen on a stage." Jennifer felt her throat tighten. "Thank you, Caleb. That means more than you know. Most people are going to miss it. They'll focus on the drama, the conflict, but what you actually did was show them what boundaries look like, what self-respect looks like, what it means to choose yourself without destroying someone else." After he left, they sat in comfortable silence. Through the walls, they could hear equipment breaking down, audience filing out, the machinery of television grinding to conclusion. "What do you think she's doing right now?" Sophia didn't need clarification. "Probably trying to figure out how to spin this, how to make herself the victim of your unprofessional behavior." "She's not entirely wrong. I did end an interview midstream. I did refuse to engage." "No. You recognized when a situation had become toxic and removed yourself. That's not running away. That's emotional intelligence." Jennifer's phone had been buzzing steadily, but she'd ignored it. Now she picked it up, scrolling through notifications, texts from friends, missed calls from her publicist, social media alerts she didn't want to check yet. One message stood out from an actress she barely knew. "Thank you for showing what grace under fire actually looks like. Some of us needed to see that it was possible." Jennifer showed it to Sophia, who nodded slowly. "That's going to be the real story. Not the drama, not the headlines about a celebrity catfight. The real story is that you showed millions of people how to walk away from toxicity with dignity intact." Jennifer stood up, smoothing her blazer one final time. She felt different, not defeated, but somehow more solid, more certain. "So what now?" Jennifer looked toward the door, toward whatever consequences awaited, toward a future that felt full of possibilities instead of managed expectations. "Now, we find out what happens when you choose authenticity over approval." As they prepared to leave, neither woman looked back toward the empty studio. The stage was dark now, cameras silent, but the impact would ripple outward for months. Some would call Jennifer's choice cowardly, others would call it revolutionary. But Jennifer no longer cared what they called it. She knew exactly who she was and who she refused to become. 3 days later, Jennifer sat in her Bel Air living room, laptop balanced on her knees, coffee growing cold beside her. The familiar space felt different now, not like a refuge, but a launching pad into something uncertain and new. Headlines cascaded across her screen. Jennifer Aniston walks out on Meghan Markle. America's sweetheart shows her claws. When nice girls fight, the Aniston-Markle meltdown. But scattered among the sensational coverage were quieter voices. Jennifer Aniston's masterclass on setting boundaries, what we can learn from Aniston's graceful exit, the revolutionary act of choosing peace over performance.
Social media responses ranged from calling her cowardly to revolutionary. Some accused her of silencing a woman of color. Others called her a role model for boundary setting. Her publicist had called 15 times. Jennifer let each go to voicemail. Instead,
She opened a new document and began writing. Not a carefully crafted statement, but something completely unfiltered. The intercom buzzed. Through the security camera, she saw Sophia with wine and newspapers. "I brought reinforcements," Sophia announced, spreading papers across the coffee table like evidence. "The London papers are having a field day. They're calling it the American ambush." Jennifer's laptop chimed with an urgent email from Meghan's representatives. She read it, then passed it to Sophia, who raised her eyebrows. "She wants a follow-up interview to clarify misunderstandings. She's threatening legal action for emotional distress and wants a public apology." Jennifer felt the familiar weight of expectations. The old Jennifer would have panicked, called lawyers, crafted careful damage control. But something had fundamentally shifted that night. "What do you want to do?" Sophia asked. Jennifer began typing. "Dear Miss Markle's representatives, I will not be participating in a follow-up interview nor issuing a public apology for ending our conversation when it became counterproductive. What happened Tuesday was not an ambush. It was the natural consequence of two people with fundamentally different approaches to conflict attempting public dialogue. If you choose legal action, my attorneys will respond accordingly. Sincerely, Jennifer Aniston." "You're really not going to apologize," Sophia said, stunned. "I'm going to stand by who I am. For the first time in my career, I'm choosing authenticity over approval." Her phone rang, an unknown number. Jennifer almost ignored it, but answered. "Miss Aniston? I'm a journalist. I just wanted to thank you." "Thank me for what?" "I've interviewed hundreds of celebrities. Most smile and deflect when uncomfortable, even when clearly miserable. But you didn't. You showed millions that it's okay to say, 'This isn't working,' and walk away. You showed us that boundaries aren't unprofessional, they're necessary." After the call, Jennifer returned to her laptop. This time, words came easily. "What happened Tuesday wasn't scripted or planned, but it was real. For perhaps the first time in my public life, I responded based on my values rather than my image. I've spent decades trying to be what everyone needed: the friend, the sweetheart, the woman who never caused problems. Tuesday night, I learned something important. Sometimes the kindest thing is refusing to participate in someone else's pain. I won't be doing a follow-up interview or issuing a public apology for ending our conversation when it became counterproductive. What you saw Tuesday was what happened: two women discovering they had different ideas about authentic conversation. I'm proud of my choice. I'm proud that I showed anyone watching that you can walk away from toxicity with dignity intact. The show will go on. Next time, I'll choose the conversation more carefully, but I won't choose differently. With love and boundaries, Jennifer Aniston." She posted the statement without consulting anyone whose job was protecting her from herself. Within minutes, her phone buzzed with notifications, shares, comments, reactions ranging from celebration to condemnation. For the first time in her career, Jennifer didn't check them. Instead, she raised Sophia's wine in a toast to the empty room. Here's to choosing authenticity over approval. Outside, Los Angeles glittered in evening light, the same city where she'd built her career on being beloved. Tomorrow would bring consequences, reactions, new challenges. But tonight, Jennifer Aniston was finally, completely, and unapologetically herself. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. Up next, we have two more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.